Welcome to Talk Blaze. Today, we unravel the mind of a genius, one man who changed our understanding of the universe forever. Get ready, because this is the story of Albert Einstein. Have you ever had an idea so powerful it could change the world? One man did, and his name became a synonym for genius. But Einstein's story isn't just about intelligence, it's about curiosity, rebellion, and a way of thinking that shattered everything we thought we knew about time and space. To understand how Albert Einstein became the most famous scientist in history, we need to go back, way back, to a small town in Germany in the year 1879. A baby was born with an unusually large head. His parents worried. Was something wrong? But little Albert was just different. As a child, he didn't speak much. He preferred to observe, to think. He was fascinated by a simple compass his father gave him. The needle moved. But why? That question would lead to answers no one had ever imagined. Einstein wasn't a typical student. He hated strict rules, memorization, and authority. His teachers called him a lazy dreamer. One even told him he would never amount to anything. But Albert, he didn't care. He saw the world differently. At 16, he asked himself a question. What would it be like to ride a beam of light? Imagine that for a moment. You're moving at the speed of light. Space bends around you, time stretches, slows, distorts. The rules of the universe no longer work the way you thought they did. This isn't science fiction. This was the question that changed everything. And the man who asked it? Albert Einstein. But Einstein wasn't a child prodigy. In fact, he was different. Born in 1879 in Germany, he was a quiet child. So quiet that his parents worried he might never speak. But little Albert wasn't silent because he didn't understand. He was thinking. At 5 years old, his father gave him a simple compass. Albert was fascinated. No matter how he turned it, the needle always pointed north. Why? What force was controlling it? That single question planted a seed in his mind, one that would grow into a revolution in physics. But school? Einstein hated it. Rigid rules, memorization, authority. It all felt meaningless to him. Teachers called him a lazy dreamer. One even told him he would never amount to anything. But Albert? He didn't care. He wanted to understand the universe. At 16, he imagined something radical. What if you could ride a beam of light? If you could move at the speed of light, would time stop? Would space collapse? Would the universe look frozen? This question became an obsession. But before Einstein could change the world, he had a problem. No one would hire him. He wasn't a respected professor. He wasn't even a teacher. He was a clerk in a Swiss patent office. And yet, sitting at a desk reviewing inventions, Einstein's mind was racing faster than any of the machines he studied. Then came 1905, his miracle year. In just 12 months, he published 4 groundbreaking papers that turned physics upside down. One of them contained the most famous equation in history, E equals mc squared. This equation wasn't just numbers. It meant that a tiny amount of matter could unleash an unimaginable amount of energy. It explained the stars. It predicted nuclear power. It revealed a hidden truth about the universe. And Einstein? He wasn't done. He would go on to develop the theory of relativity, proving that time and space weren't absolute. The world called him a genius. But for Einstein, it all started with a question. What would it be like to ride a beam of light? And that changed everything. Albert Einstein had just rewritten the rules of physics. His equation E equals mc squared revealed the hidden power of matter. His papers shattered the old ideas of space and time, but there was still something missing. Because while Einstein's theories worked for small things, atoms, particles, light, there was one force he still didn't fully understand: gravity. For centuries, scientists believed Isaac Newton had solved it. His laws explained how apples fall, how planets orbit, how the moon stays in the sky. Gravity was simple, a force pulling objects together. But Einstein, he saw a problem. Newton's gravity worked, but it didn't explain everything. It couldn't predict what happened at extreme speeds or massive distances. Something was off, and Einstein couldn't stop thinking about it. One day, while sitting in his office, he had a thought: what if gravity wasn't a force, but something else? And then, eureka! He imagined a man falling from a roof. In that moment of free fall, the man wouldn't feel his own weight. It would be as if gravity disappeared. This simple idea led to something revolutionary. Gravity wasn't pulling things down. Space itself was bending. A massive object like the sun didn't pull planets toward it. Instead, it created a dent in space, like a bowling ball on a trampoline. And smaller objects, they weren't being pulled. They were falling into the curve of space itself. Gravity wasn't a force. It was the shape of the universe. This was general relativity, Einstein's greatest masterpiece, but could it be proven? In 1919, an English astronomer, Sir Arthur Eddington, had an idea. If Einstein was right, then light from distant stars should bend around the sun during a solar eclipse. The world watched as scientists traveled to Africa and South America to capture the moment. And when the eclipse came, the results were shocking. The stars had shifted. The light had bent, exactly as Einstein predicted. In a single night, Einstein went from an unknown scientist to a global icon. Newspapers called him the new Newton. His theory had changed the way we see the cosmos. But Einstein, he was just getting started. Overnight, Albert Einstein became a global icon. His wild hair, his sharp mind, he was the face of modern science. But fame wasn't what he wanted. He wanted answers. As he worked on a theory to unify all the forces of nature, the world around him grew darker. In the 1930s, Germany was changing. A dangerous ideology was rising. As a Jewish scientist, Einstein knew he was no longer safe. He fled to the United States, leaving behind his homeland forever. Then came a terrifying realization. Scientists in Nazi Germany were studying nuclear physics, the very science Einstein helped create. If they built an atomic bomb first, the world could be in danger. In 1939, Einstein signed a letter to President Roosevelt warning of the Nazi threat. This letter led to the Manhattan Project and the development of the world's first nuclear weapons. Einstein had helped start a race he never wanted to run, and soon the consequences would become devastating. On August 6, 1945, the world changed forever. A single bomb, powered by the very equation Einstein helped uncover, was dropped on Hiroshima. 3 days later, another on Nagasaki. Thousands of lives erased in an instant. When Einstein heard the news, he was devastated. He had warned the world about nuclear power, but he never wanted it to be used as a weapon. With deep regret, he spent the rest of his life fighting for peace, speaking out against nuclear war. But even as the world spiraled into a new conflict, the Cold War, Einstein never stopped searching for answers. Until his final days, he worked on a theory of everything, hoping to unify all the forces of nature. He never finished it. On April 18th, 1955, Albert Einstein passed away. But his ideas, they continued to shape the universe, because once you've ridden a beam of light, you never stop moving. Did you know that Elon Musk was once bullied so badly as a child that he ended up in the hospital? It's hard to imagine now. One of the most powerful and controversial figures of the 21st century, a man who has reshaped industries, clashed with world leaders, and even altered the course of American politics, was once just a quiet boy in South Africa, struggling to fit in. But how did he go from that to becoming one of the most influential figures in history? How did a tech entrepreneur known for building rockets and electric cars find himself at the center of political power? Some call him a genius, others see him as reckless, a disruptor, a visionary, a provocateur. But love him or hate him, one thing is undeniable. Elon Musk changed the world. This is the story of his rise, from a lonely, bookish kid to the world's richest man, to one of the most influential and controversial figures in business and politics. But before Elon Musk became a household name, before Tesla, SpaceX, or his bold takeover of Twitter, he was just a kid with a mind wired differently from everyone else. Born in Pretoria, South Africa, in 1971, Musk grew up in a turbulent household, escaping into books and computers while struggling to connect with those around him. His father, a wealthy but strict engineer, pushed him to be tough, while his mother, a model and dietitian, encouraged his curiosity. But the world outside his home wasn't as forgiving. As a child, Musk was relentlessly bullied. One particularly brutal attack left him unconscious at the bottom of a staircase, his face swollen from the beating. But instead of letting this trauma define him, he turned inward, diving deep into technology and programming. By the age of 12, he had created and sold his first video game, a sign of the restless ambition that would later make him a billionaire. But Musk didn't see his future in South Africa. He had his sights set on something much bigger, America, the land of opportunity, innovation, and reinvention. In the mid-90s, he arrived in the U.S. with little more than a dream and a relentless work ethic. He enrolled at the University of Pennsylvania, studying physics and economics, before diving headfirst into the early days of the Internet boom. It wasn't long before he made his first fortune. In 1999, he co-founded X.com, an online banking company that would eventually become PayPal. When eBay acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion, Musk walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars. And instead of retiring young, he doubled down. But while his tech ventures skyrocketed, his personality and leadership style made him one of the most polarizing figures in business. His demanding expectations, his obsession with work, and his willingness to take massive risks set him apart, but also created tension. Employees described him as brilliant but ruthless. Investors called him unpredictable, and yet, time and time again, he proved them wrong. His ambitions were far greater than just making money. He wanted to reshape humanity's future. But in his pursuit of innovation, he would face lawsuits, betrayals, failures, and a growing number of enemies. And as his influence grew, one thing became clear. Elon Musk wasn't just a businessman. He was a force of nature, Success didn't come without struggles. Behind the headlines of billion-dollar deals and groundbreaking innovations, Musk faced relentless challenges, from brutal business failures to intense legal battles and public backlash. At Tesla, he fought to keep the company alive, sleeping on factory floors as he pushed through production delays and near bankruptcy. At SpaceX, he poured his own fortune into rockets that exploded one after another before finally launching successfully. Each failure only fueled his drive. But it wasn't just business obstacles. Musk himself became a lightning rod for controversy. His unfiltered tweets led to lawsuits, SEC fines, and clashes with politicians. His unpredictable leadership style made him both admired and feared. Was he a genius pushing the limits or a reckless disruptor? As his influence grew, he wasn't just shaping industries, he was reshaping conversations on free speech, government control, and the future of technology. And that made him one of the most powerful and polarizing figures of his time. Musk's growing influence wasn't just about business anymore, it was about power. As Tesla dominated the electric vehicle market and SpaceX secured billion-dollar government contracts, Musk wasn't just an entrepreneur. He was a force governments couldn't ignore. His ability to move markets with a single tweet made politicians, regulators, and even world leaders take notice. When he spoke about cryptocurrencies, prices skyrocketed or crashed. When he clashed with the SEC over a tweet about taking Tesla private, he was fined $20 million but refused to back down. Then came his takeover of Twitter. What began as a move to restore free speech quickly turned into one of the most chaotic and controversial corporate takeovers in history. He slashed staff, reinstated banned accounts, and openly challenged traditional media and government narratives. Some praised him for shaking up the system. Others warned that he was giving extremists a bigger platform. At the same time, his relationships with political figures became more complex. He criticized world leaders, challenged government subsidies, and even suggested geopolitical solutions that made diplomats uneasy. His actions blurred the line between entrepreneur and political disruptor. With every move, Musk wasn't just shaping industries, he was challenging the very institutions that had controlled them for decades. And that made him a bigger target than ever before. But Musk's influence wasn't limited to the U.S. His reach extended across the globe. With SpaceX's Starlink satellites providing internet access in war zones, Musk found himself at the center of geopolitical conflicts. When Ukraine relied on Starlink during its war with Russia, governments and military leaders began questioning just how much power one billionaire should have over global communications. At the same time, his business empire depended on China, Tesla's second-largest market. While Musk expanded his operations there, critics wondered, could he truly advocate for free speech while staying in the good graces of an authoritarian government? His ability to navigate these contradictions made him both admired and feared, and as his power grew, so did the pressure. Regulators, lawmakers, and even world leaders began taking a closer look at his influence. But Musk wasn't one to shy away from conflict. He thrived on it. Against all odds, Elon Musk refused to fail. He was doubted, ridiculed, sued, and even nearly bankrupt. But every time the world counted him out, he came back stronger. When Tesla was on the brink of collapse, he poured his last dollars into keeping it alive. Now it's the world's most valuable car company. When SpaceX rockets exploded on live television, he didn't quit. He rebuilt, and now NASA relies on him to send astronauts into space. When critics said electric cars and private spaceflight were impossible, he proved them wrong. Through every failure, every controversy, and every moment of doubt, Musk pushed forward. He defied governments, disrupted industries, and reshaped the way people think about energy, transportation, and the future of humanity. Today, he stands as one of the most influential figures of the modern era, a man who bet everything on impossible dreams and won. And if history has taught us anything, it's that Elon Musk is far from finished. Elon Musk's story is one of resilience, risk, and relentless ambition. But his journey isn't just about him, it's about the world he's shaping. From revolutionizing transportation and space travel to reshaping social media and artificial intelligence, his influence is everywhere. But what do you think? Is Musk a visionary leader pushing humanity forward, or does he hold too much power for one person? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe. Kim Jong-un remains one of the most secretive and controversial leaders in the world. Born into North Korea's ruling dynasty, his rise to power was unexpected. With no formal military or political experience, many doubted his ability to lead after the death of his father, Kim Jong-il. But he quickly consolidated control, eliminating rivals and securing his rule. Under his leadership, North Korea expanded its nuclear program, engaged in high-stakes diplomacy, and maintained strict control over its people. His rule is marked by secrecy, propaganda, and a constant struggle to maintain power in a world that continues to watch closely. How did he solidify his position, and what does the future hold for his regime? When Kim Jong-un assumed power in 2011 after the death of his father, many saw him as inexperienced and unlikely to maintain control. At just 27 years old, he had spent much of his early life studying abroad in Switzerland under a false identity. Unlike his father and grandfather, he had no direct military background, no proven leadership skills, and no reputation among North Korea's elite. Many within the regime saw him as a weak successor, one who could be easily manipulated or even overthrown. But within just a few years, he proved them wrong. Kim moved swiftly to eliminate threats, consolidating his power through purges, executions, and strategic reshuffling within the government and military. One of his most shocking moves was the execution of his own uncle, Jang Song-taek, in 2013. Jang had been one of the most powerful figures in North Korea, a key political operator, and an economic reformist. But Kim saw him as a threat, and in a dramatic public trial, Jong was accused of treason and swiftly executed. The message was clear: Kim Jong-un was in full control. From that point on, he continued to cement his rule. Military generals who had served under his father were dismissed or executed. High-ranking officials were replaced with loyalists. Even his half-brother, Kim Jong-nam, was assassinated in 2017 in Malaysia, allegedly on Kim's orders. The young leader had eliminated nearly every potential rival within his family and government. At the same time, he used propaganda to build his image as a strong, fearless leader. State media portrayed him as a military strategist and a genius on par with his grandfather, Kim Il-sung. He adopted his grandfather's hairstyle, mannerisms, and speech patterns to to strengthen his connection to North Korea's founding leader. Public appearances showed him surrounded by generals, giving direct military orders and inspecting missile tests. Despite skepticism from the outside world, Kim Jong-un had successfully transformed himself from an untested successor into an absolute ruler. But securing power was just the first step. Next, he would turn his attention outward to nuclear weapons, international diplomacy, and a battle for North Korea's survival on the world stage. Despite his firm grip on power, Kim Jong-un faced a major challenge: North Korea's survival in a world that saw it as a threat. The country was economically weak, isolated by international sanctions, and heavily reliant on China. Meanwhile, the United States and its allies saw his nuclear ambitions as a direct danger to global security. To counter this, Kim accelerated North Korea's nuclear weapons program. Missile tests became more frequent, each one showcasing increasing range and capability. By 2017, North Korea claimed it had developed a hydrogen bomb and intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, capable of reaching the U.S. mainland. The world took notice. But with every missile test, the pressure on North Korea grew. More sanctions were imposed, crippling the economy. Trade restrictions cut off vital resources. The country, already struggling, faced growing hardship. Yet, Kim refused to back down. Instead, he turned a crisis into a display of strength, rallying his people with propaganda, portraying North Korea as a nation under siege by foreign enemies. Then came the biggest gamble of his leadership: direct negotiations with world leaders. In a shocking turn, Kim agreed to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump in 2018, marking the first-ever meeting between a North Korean leader and a sitting U.S. president. For the first time, Kim wasn't just a dictator, he was a global player. But was this a true step toward diplomacy, or just another strategic move to secure his regime's survival? By 2020, Kim Jong-un faced his greatest challenge yet: a collapsing economy, worsening sanctions, and a global pandemic that pushed North Korea into near-total isolation. Borders were sealed, trade with China plummeted, and food shortages worsened. For the first time, cracks in his rule began to show. Rumors of his poor health and even death spread worldwide after he disappeared from public view for weeks. Was his grip on power slipping? But then he reappeared, stronger than before. Defying speculation, he launched new missile tests, purged disloyal officials, and reinforced his rule with absolute authority. With North Korea more cut off than ever, he shifted focus inward, tightening control over the economy, expanding surveillance, and ensuring that his leadership remained unquestioned. Despite global opposition, he secured deeper ties with China and Russia, bypassing Western sanctions. His survival wasn't luck, it was strategy. While the world predicted his fall, Kim once again proved them wrong. Against all odds, he had outlasted crises, eliminated rivals, and maintained his grip on power. North Korea remained under his rule, and for now, no one could challenge him. But for how long? What do you think? Is Kim a master strategist securing his rule, or is his grip slipping under pressure? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What if a single idea written in code could change the world forever? For Bill Gates, that idea wasn't just a dream. It was his mission. Born in 1955, Gates was obsessed with computers from an early age. At 13, he wrote his first program. By 19, He dropped out of Harvard to start Microsoft with Paul Allen. Their goal? To put a computer in every home, a vision no one believed possible. In 1980, they struck gold, licensing MS-DOS to IBM, making Microsoft the heart of the PC revolution. Then, in 1985, they launched Windows, a game-changer that made computers easy, visual, and accessible. By the 1990s, Microsoft ruled the tech world. Windows was everywhere, but success came with controversy. In 1998, Microsoft faced antitrust lawsuits, accused of monopolizing the industry. Gates fought hard, but in 2000, he stepped down as CEO. Yet, his impact was far from over. Instead of just dominating tech, Gates turned to philanthropy. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation tackled global challenges, disease, poverty, and education, transforming millions of lives. From teenage coder to tech mogul to global humanitarian, Bill Gates didn't just predict the future, he built it. By the early 2000s, Bill Gates had already changed the tech world. Windows powered over 90% of computers, and Microsoft was a dominant force. But for Gates, success wasn't just about business. It was about impact. In 2000, he stepped down as Microsoft's CEO to focus on something bigger, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. His mission? To use his wealth to solve the world's biggest problems. From funding vaccines to fighting malaria, his foundation has saved millions of lives. He pushed for education reform, clean water initiatives, and solutions to climate change. His influence moved beyond technology. He became one of the most powerful philanthropists in history. Yet, Gates remained a controversial figure. Some saw him as a genius innovator, others as a ruthless businessman. But one thing is certain, his work shaped the modern world. Bill Gates didn't just build software, he built the future. Bill Gates's journey wasn't just about technology or wealth. It was about vision, ambition, and impact. When computers were massive, he imagined them in every home. When software was just an afterthought, he made it the heart of an industry. When diseases ravaged the world, he invested billions to stop them. From a teenage coder to the richest man on earth, his influence stretches far beyond Microsoft. But no legacy is without controversy. Gates built an empire, but many claim Microsoft crushed competition through aggressive tactics. The antitrust lawsuits of the 1990s painted him as a ruthless businessman, more focused on winning than innovation. Even in philanthropy, some question his true motives. Is it generosity or a way to maintain power? Yet, one fact remains. His impact is undeniable. Today, Gates focuses on climate change, AI, and global health, solving the world's biggest challenges. His mission? To create a future as revolutionary as his past. Bill Gates didn't just create software, he reprogrammed the future. Bill Gates built Microsoft, transformed computing, and changed how the world works, learns, and connects. But even after stepping away from tech, he wasn't done shaping the future. With the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, he turned his focus to eradicating disease, improving education, and fighting poverty. His contributions to global health helped combat polio, malaria, and HIV, saving millions of lives. His investments in renewable energy and climate solutions aim to tackle one of humanity's greatest threats. Yet, despite his philanthropy, controversy followed. His vast wealth and influence raised questions about power and control. Some critics argued that one man, no matter how well-intentioned, shouldn't have so much sway over global issues. His personal life also made headlines, with his high-profile divorce in 2021 further intensifying public scrutiny. But Gates remains focused on the future. Whether it's AI, pandemic preparedness, or clean energy, he believes technology holds the key to solving the world's biggest challenges. He didn't just create software, he's coding solutions for the future. Bill Gates spent decades reshaping industries, but with great innovation comes great responsibility. His legacy isn't just about Microsoft or wealth, it's about power, influence, and the challenges that come with them. With the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, he funneled billions into solving some of humanity's greatest problems. His foundation became a driving force in global health, funding vaccine research, eradicating diseases, and combating world hunger. He helped lead the fight against polio, poured resources into malaria prevention, and played a key role in distributing COVID-19 vaccines. But not everyone saw his philanthropy as purely selfless. Some critics argued that his outsized influence gave him too much control over global policies, decisions that should belong to governments, not billionaires. Others questioned his business tactics, claiming his efforts weren't just about solving the problems, but also shaping markets and industries in his favor. Then came 2021, a turning point. After 27 years of marriage, Gates and his wife Melinda announced their divorce. It was one of the most high-profile splits in modern history, raising questions about the future of their foundation. Around the same time, reports surfaced about Gates's past workplace behavior and his connections to controversial figures, leading to further scrutiny. Despite this, Gates remained focused on the future. His attention shifted to the next big frontier, technology and climate change. He warned of the dangers of AI, pushed for clean energy solutions, and advocated for pandemic preparedness to prevent future global crises. His vision never wavered. Technology should improve lives, solve problems, and push humanity forward. But who controls the future? A handful of tech billionaires, governments, the people? That question remains unanswered. Bill Gates didn't just change the world, he helped create the one we live in today. Bill Gates built one empire with code and another with philanthropy. But his story isn't over. Today, his focus is on solving humanity's next big challenges, from clean energy to artificial intelligence. He warns that AI could revolutionize industries, but also widen inequalities if not handled responsibly. He pushes for nuclear energy as a solution to climate change, arguing that innovation, not politics, will decide the planet's future. But even now, opinions on Gates remain divided. Some see him as a visionary, using his fortune for good. Others view him as a tech giant turned power player, influencing global policies in ways few elected leaders ever could. One thing is certain, his impact is far from over. Whether shaping technology, healthcare, or climate solutions, Gates continues to rewrite the future. One project, one innovation, one breakthrough at a time. Bill Gates didn't just shape the digital age, he's shaping what comes next. Welcome to Talk Blaze. Today, we uncover how Zara revolutionized fashion and built a global empire. Let's dive in. Have you ever felt the urge to buy something before it's gone? That thrill when you see the perfect outfit, the right fit, the right price, the right trend. But in the back of your mind, there's a thought. If I don't grab it now, it might be gone tomorrow. That's not just shopping, that's psychology. A strategy so powerful, it turned a small store in Spain into a global fashion empire. This is the story of Zara. To understand why Zara became one of the biggest names in fashion, we have to go back, way back, to the 1970s. At the time, fashion was slow. Big brands like Gucci, Chanel, and Dior dominated, creating exclusive designs that took months, sometimes years, to reach consumers. If you wanted high fashion, you paid a premium. But in the small coastal city of La Coruña, Spain, a man named Amancio Ortega had a different vision. Fashion shouldn't be slow. It shouldn't be expensive, and it shouldn't take months to go from the runway to the streets. Ortega wasn't a designer. He didn't come from a wealthy family. In fact, he dropped out of school at 13 years old to work as a delivery boy for a local clothing shop. He spent years watching how the fashion business worked, how materials were bought, how clothes were made, and how customers reacted. He saw a problem and an opportunity. What if, instead of waiting months for high-end designs to trickle down to consumers, you could make them instantly available? What if you could create a system where fashion moved as fast as demand? That idea became Zara. In 1975, Ortega opened a small store in La Coruña. He called it Zorba. Yes, Zorba. Inspired by the 1964 film Zorba the Greek, he wanted the name to reflect a bold and free-spirited brand. But there was a problem. Just 2 blocks away, a bar had the same name. Ortega had already made the store signs, so with some quick thinking, he rearranged the letters, and Z-A-R-A was born. But what made Zara different? At the time, clothing brands followed a traditional model. Designers create trends, factories produce them, stores sell them. It was a long, expensive process, and by the time a design reached stores, it was often outdated. Zara changed everything. Instead of designing clothes a year in advance, Ortega created a system where trends were made and sold in real time. If customers wanted a jacket, a dress, or a specific style, they didn't have to wait months. Zara could design, produce, and stock stores in just 2 weeks. This was unheard of in the fashion world, and it worked. By the early 1980s, Zara was growing fast. But Ortega wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. Most clothing companies manufactured their clothes overseas to save money. But Ortega saw the flaw. Longer production times meant slower response to trends. So instead of outsourcing everything, he did something radical. He kept manufacturing local. While other brands relied on third-party suppliers, Zara controlled its entire supply chain, from design to production to sales. This gave Zara an unmatched advantage: speed. Instead of waiting 6 months for a product to be made, Zara could do it in 2 weeks. Flexibility? If a style wasn't selling, they immediately stopped production. No waste, no excess stock. Exclusivity. Clothes weren't overproduced. If you saw something you liked, you had to buy it now, before it disappeared. And this strategy wasn't just good business, it was a psychological trick. Customers felt urgency. If they didn't buy today, they might never get the chance again. This buy-now mentality turned Zara into a shopping addiction. People didn't just visit Zara stores once a season, they came back every few weeks because new products were always arriving. By the 1990s, Zara had expanded beyond Spain into Portugal, France, and the United States. And the fashion world took notice. Luxury brands scoffed. They called Zara cheap, fast, and unoriginal. But customers didn't care. They wanted affordable, trendy clothes, and they wanted them now. And just like that, Zara changed the rules of fashion forever. By the 1990s, Zara had already changed fashion forever. The idea of fast fashion, clothes made quickly, responding in real time to customer demand, was no longer just an experiment. It was working. Zara stores were spreading across Europe and North America, and the world was starting to take notice. But Amancio Ortega wasn't done. He didn't just want Zara to be a successful fashion brand. He wanted to build an empire. At this point, Zara had already broken every rule in the fashion industry. They didn't advertise. No flashy commercials, no celebrity endorsements. They didn't follow seasons. No spring, summer, fall, or winter collections, just constant new releases. They didn't mass produce. Instead of stocking warehouses full of the same products, Zara kept inventory low and changed collections every few weeks. But to truly dominate the fashion world, Ortega needed one thing: speed. In 1990, he built one of the most advanced logistics systems in the world, a giant distribution center in Spain that allowed Zara to design a product, manufacture it, and ship it to stores in under 15 days, restock shelves twice a week, more than any other fashion brand, eliminate waste. If a product didn't sell well, production stopped immediately. No other clothing company could move this fast, and customers noticed. Because Zara released new collections so often, shoppers returned again and again just to see what was new. While traditional brands relied on advertising, Zara let its stores do the talking. The strategy worked. By 1997, Zara had expanded to New York, Paris, and Tokyo, the fashion capitals of the world. And suddenly, a brand that started in a small Spanish city was competing with Gucci, Prada, and Louis Vuitton. But unlike luxury brands, Zara wasn't selling exclusivity. It was selling accessibility. High fashion, but affordable. Trendy, but disposable. Luxury-inspired, but made for the masses. And as Zara's influence grew, so did its impact. By the early 2000s, Zara was no longer just a brand. It was a movement. Other companies saw its success and rushed to copy its model. H&M, Forever 21, and Topshop followed Zara's lead, creating their own versions of fast fashion. The fashion industry, once controlled by elite designers and luxury brands, was suddenly in a new era. Social media and online shopping supercharged the trend. Now, new styles could go viral overnight, and fast fashion brands could recreate them instantly. Zara didn't just change how we shop, it changed how we think about clothes. Instead of investing in a few high-quality pieces, people started buying more, wearing less, and constantly chasing trends. And with this rapid growth came a new problem. Zara didn't just follow trends, it changed them. From a small shop in Spain to a global fashion empire, it revolutionized the way we shop, creating a world where fashion moves at lightning speed. But with great success comes great responsibility. Zara's impact on fashion, business, and the environment is undeniable. It mastered the art of urgency, made high fashion accessible, and built an empire on speed. But now, as the world demands sustainability, the question remains: can fast fashion ever truly be responsible? Zara continues to adapt, innovate, and evolve. But one thing is certain: fashion will never be the same. Because in the world of Zara, the only thing that never changes is change itself. Zara had revolutionized the industry, but it had also created an environmental crisis. The same things that made Zara so successful, speed, affordability, and mass production, also led to textile waste skyrocketing. Millions of clothes were thrown away each year, ending up in landfills, water consumption increasing. Producing fast fashion used billions of gallons of water, leading to pollution, labor, concerns emerging. As demand grew, some of Zara's factories were accused of poor working conditions and low wages. Activists and environmental groups called out Zara for prioritizing profit over sustainability. And for the first time, the company had to face the consequences of its own success. Would Zara be able to adapt? Or was fast fashion doomed to collapse under its own weight? Welcome to Talk Blaze. Today, we uncover how Ferrari became the ultimate symbol of speed, power, and prestige. Buckle up. Let's dive in. Have you ever felt the need for speed? That adrenaline rush when the engine roars, the tires grip the road, and the world blurs past you? For some, it's a thrill. For others, it's a way of life. But for one man, it was destiny. This is the story of Ferrari. To understand how Ferrari became a symbol of speed, power, and passion, we need to go back, way back, to a time when cars weren't just machines. They were dreams on wheels. And one man had a dream bigger than anyone else's. In 1898, Enzo Ferrari was born in Modena, Italy. From a young age, he was obsessed with speed, bicycles, carts, anything that moved fast. But in 1916, tragedy struck. His father and brother died, leaving him to navigate life alone. Then came World War I. Enzo enlisted, but illness forced him to return home, jobless and lost. His escape? Racing. In 1920, he joined Alfa Romeo as a driver, but Enzo wasn't just fast, he was relentless. He built the Scuderia Ferrari racing team, recruiting top talent. His dream? Not just to race, but to dominate. Then came the prancing horse. A fallen war hero, Francesco Baracca, had painted it on his plane. His parents told Enzo, "Use it for luck." Enzo did more than that. He made it a legend. The prancing horse became Ferrari's heart, and soon the world would know its name. The 1930s, Enzo Ferrari wasn't just a racer, he was a visionary. His Scuderia Ferrari team, originally a racing branch of Alfa Romeo, was winning races and proving unstoppable. But Enzo wanted more. His own cars, his own empire. In 1939, he left Alfa Romeo to start his own company. But there was one problem. He was banned from using the Ferrari name in racing for 4 years. So he worked behind the scenes, designing and refining his dream. Then World War II changed everything. Ferrari's factory was bombed twice. Resources were scarce, and survival became the priority. But Enzo never quit. He rebuilt, stronger than ever. Finally, in 1947, the world saw the first true Ferrari, the 125S. With a roaring V12 engine, it won its first race within months. Ferrari wasn't just a name anymore. It was a force of nature, and the race to greatness had only just begun. With the Ferrari 125S roaring to victory in 1947, Enzo Ferrari had done more than build a car. He had ignited a revolution. His machines weren't just fast, they were masterpieces, crafted for both beauty and dominance. In 1951, Ferrari won its first Formula One Grand Prix. A year later, it claimed its first world championship. The name Ferrari became synonymous with racing supremacy. Then came the road cars, machines that turned Ferrari from a racing legend into a global phenomenon. The 250 GTO Testarossa and F40 weren't just fast, they were works of art, owned by the rich, the famous, and the daring. But success brought challenges, rivalries with Lamborghini, financial struggles, and Enzo's relentless pursuit of perfection pushed Ferrari to its limits. Yet, no matter the obstacles, the prancing horse never stopped running. By the 1980s, Ferrari was more than a car company. It was a myth, a dream, an obsession. And at the heart of it all, the man who refused to slow down, Enzo Ferrari. Formula One team was feared on the track, and its road cars were symbols of luxury and performance. But behind the success, Enzo Ferrari was facing his final race. Age had caught up with him. He had lost his beloved son Dino in 1956, a tragedy that left a permanent scar. But despite the pain, Enzo never stopped. He ruled Ferrari with an iron will, making every decision, approving every car, pushing his team to perfection. Then, in 1987, Ferrari unveiled what many consider Enzo's last masterpiece, the F40. It was raw, untamed, brutally fast, exactly how he believed a Ferrari should be. It was his final gift to the world. A year later, on August 14, 1988, Enzo Ferrari passed away at the age of 90. The man who built an empire from sheer passion and relentless ambition was gone. But Ferrari? Ferrari was just getting started. Enzo Ferrari may have left the world in 1988, but his prancing horse kept galloping forward, faster, stronger, and more legendary than ever. Just weeks after his passing, Ferrari delivered a fitting tribute, a 1-2 victory at the Italian Grand Prix. The crowd, knowing this was Enzo's final race in spirit, erupted into tears, cheers, and pure passion. It was proof that Ferrari wasn't just a company, it was a way of life. Through the 1990s and 2000s, Ferrari evolved. The F50, Enzo, and La Ferrari pushed technology and performance. But Ferrari's true battleground was Formula One.
In 2000, Michael Schumacher brought Ferrari its first F1 championship in 21 years. What followed was 5 consecutive titles, cementing Ferrari as the most dominant force in motorsport. No team had ever ruled like this before.
Today, Ferrari continues to innovate with hybrid supercars like the SF90 Stradale and plans for an all-electric future. But no matter how technology changes, one thing remains true. Ferrari isn't just a car. It's a legend, a dream, a heartbeat at 350 kilometers per hour. And it will never stop.